asking you to take what you've done in class and turn it into something more. So that's what the rest of the day would have been. After that, day 4, we work on structure. I talk about the inverted pyramid style. So you have the most important information going down to just extra facts and stuff that isn't the most important, but it's just extra detail. That's on the 4th day. And then the 5th day is where I do a brainstorming activity, where I have them think about what matters to them personally, because the final product is a news article that they write. And so I ask them to brainstorm what matters to them personally, what issues matter to them within their community, and what issues matter to them on a national or global scale. So they have a lot of things to think about, and then they get the rest of that time to go ahead and research things on the internet. I'm not asking them to find an article and write an opinion piece on it. I'm asking them to research information about what matters to them and then write a solid article piece on it. Earlier in this unit, we talk about different kinds of articles, so they'll have different options. It's not going to be all the same piece. So that's pretty much what happens in this lesson, or in this unit as a whole. Strengths and weaknesses. I really enjoyed putting this together because I got to put in a lot of authentic activities that I created on my own. Not necessarily means that they weren't thought of at any other time, but I really try to utilize what they participate in on a daily basis and bring it to a different light, like this Twitter activity. I also think it's a good way to bring in nonfiction into the classroom, especially because we are required to do that more so than not. And I have a very difficult time with nonfiction, so I think that this would be a good way for me to implement that for my students. Some weaknesses, I have a knack for putting in way too much when I shouldn't. So I fear that even though I didn't have block scheduling and there are 5 days to do this, I fear that I put in a little bit too much, so I'll go through more than actually going in depth with things, but I kind of need to work on that. So I'm not sure if I did it with this or not. I'm hoping that I did it. And something else that I thought about kind of as an after fact was 2 things. The first one is bringing in news articles can be a really great way to bring in nonfiction and broaden their horizons, what's going on in the world, but it can also lead to a lot of heated debates, bringing in a lot of opinions that they have that could end up backfiring. So I don't want to spend time on them talking about things that they don't agree with, or ending up having students get hostile at each other over something, because I want these articles to be something that they can look at how the article is written, not what it's about per se. So I fear that that could happen if I don't have a good enough handle on it. And something else, I do engage in technology every single day, but it wasn't, of course, until after the fact where I thought about things that I could use better, I guess you could say. Like when I thought about doing this activity, reflecting on it before I even got here, I was like, shoot, it would have been so great if I had an actual Twitter for the class and we could live feed these, or if I had a Google Doc going and they were all in front of computers and they had the template on there and they could all add it on there. So there's just kind of things that I had in afterthought. It wasn't that I wasn't thinking about it while I was writing it, it's just things that came to my mind a little bit too late, but I tried to implement it as best as possible when putting it together, so that's pretty much what I got.
You really made it look like Twitter.
Huh?
You really made it look like Twitter.
I know.
Yeah, you did.
Do you have any idea how long that took me?
I can't even imagine.
I tried to find a free template and I couldn't find one, so I made it myself.
That's nice to have.
really
That was going to be like, my first comment, that this standout is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it took me a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We should save that.
Yeah.
Not only
Send
did
it
I
to all
like
of
print
us.
out like 80 copies, but I saved it like everywhere. So
You should email that to all of us.
Yeah.
You guys can pay me if you want a copy.
Ah.
I liked your activity. I like the fact that you got the kids up and you didn't just hand out the papers, you sort of got them up and took it. And it was a fun activity. The only thing I think that, as far as your worry goes, I just think you couldn't probably put a whole newspaper. You'd have to take like certain articles so then that you don't run into the problem of them picking one that.
Right.
For instance, I remember finding an article in the Western Courier like a year or so ago that had pretty big grammar mistake. And I thought, well, hey, I could use this. But on the very next page, there was an editor about a girl talking about binder vibrate. And I thought, bringing that into a high school
Definitely.
might not be the best idea.
No, absolutely. I was a little bit more lenient on it just because I knew
Right.
who my students were today, but I thought about that. I was actually going to cut out those articles individually, but then I realized that some overlapped on the back page, so I just ended up marking out the headlines and bringing in enough copies for each and every one of you, but I know exactly what you're saying. I would think about that if we were at the classroom.
I like how you like made it flow really well, like you kind of introduced us Twitter, and then you had us do the headlines, and then you had do Twitter and headlining, so it just flowed really well. It was really good.
I think it was good too. I think you talked too fast.
I know, I was trying to rush through it. I put in way too much. See, I told you, I have a problem. I was like, this is a 45-minute presentation. I've got 20. Let's do this.
But it's better to have more than not enough.
Yeah.
So, that's not all bad.
I thought your activity was really fun. Yeah, just to shorten it, you probably could have done the activity.
Yeah.
But I thought I liked your graphics on the PowerPoint. But just something I've learned is that you want your PowerPoint to have as less words as possible. And so like it was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I thought everything on there was like really, really like beneficial for the students. They're just hard to look at.
I thought some variety on that might be good, instead of looking at the same one again and again and again and again. I thought maybe formatting and different things could change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you do that?
You can do individual slides
Oh,
differently
yeah.
than the rest.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just extra work, but it's not hard to do. I've done it before.
yeah, just like, again, it's not to like hate on your PowerPoint or anything. I didn't really mind the amount of words, but it is something I always keep in mind, just like keep it concise. To like, even if you aren't the kind of person who tends to read off of it, just keep it short anyways, because otherwise some students will just be reading it and then they won't be paying attention to you.
You're gonna have students that are like, are these notes like trying to hurry and write everything down, not really paying attention to what you're saying
Right.
too.
Sometimes I use it as a crutch. But one of my other things is that I want to make sure that I'm covering every single thing as best as possible, and so I end up putting on way too much when I could just be talking about it. But I'm like, I want to make sure that they remember this or know about this, so I put it in there instead of just going off of it by myself. But it's something I can work on. I know what you're saying.
Hey, you seem perfectly knowledgeable about the subject.
I know. I don't know why I do that, because I always know what I'm talking about, but I use it as a crutch anyway to make sure that I have the words on there. It's not like I forget what I'm talking about, but I know I do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like your bird.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
was like, I'm gonna be Twitter. It's almost Halloween. Let's do this.
I
Yeah,
wondered what that was.
It's the Twitter bird. It's like those spots for
Read
Twitter.
it before.
yeah, just
Come
like
on,
as,
read it, Jim Burke.
as another note too,
Are you
like,
serious? You did? Yeah.
I liked your energy throughout. Like, it didn't seem like you kind of lagged. It was just like, from wire to wire, you were engaging with us. You were like making little jokes at like your own expense and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was also just like some
Like
funny
that.
stuff in the slides. It was just really like I said before, you could really tell you knew what you were talking about, and that you actually had taken a lot of thought into this, and that actually meant something important to you, that you are a news hound and you like it. So then it's not everything in teaching, but it's a big thing in teaching. If the students can just tell that like you're having fun and you're there. So you did a great job.
And actually, and especially with the Twitter and the headlines, that's like something that's huge right now with newspapers. Every news outlet has a Twitter, and that's how they get their headline across. And you'll see they actually like put their headline in the tweet instead of like you can click on the link that it has and it'll say the headline. So it's like a great idea. to put
Absolutely.
your
Even
lesson
in-
about.
Whoever had the Western Courier, they have tweets in there too. I noticed when I was going through it.
Yeah.
It's just so popular right now. It's ashamed to not use it in the classroom, I think. So. Paige, you have anything to say? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Penny.
Just the cameraman, I mean woman.